published. It was originally in Bengali, and later on, this 5 volume Chandigarh edition of the same Bengali gospel is what we are following. We are in the second volume now, and we have just come to page 81, where Sri Ramakrishna is at a devotee's house in Calcutta. And the discussion was about gopis. Last time we saw how Sri Ramakrishna says that only in Vrindavan one can find pure love. So Sri Krishna, when he was hardly 13 years old, that's the time when he left Vrindavan, never to return. And then, because he had to go and then finally establish himself in Dwaraka. And we know how he lived for nearly 100, more than 100 years, including the Battle of Mahabharata, and then the whole history of Sri Krishna's life, biography of Sri Krishna's life will show you that though he never came to Vrindavan, after he left Vrindavan at the age of 13, the gopis went and met him in Dwaraka. That incident is being described here. So he was, Sri Ramakrishna was telling the devotees that the highest bhakti which can be found in the world is that of the gopis, whose only concern was the welfare of Sri Krishna. They had no other goal in life. And then he adds, if you remember in the previous class, we also discussed that it may be easy to get mukti or freedom or moksha, but it is very difficult to get prema bhakti or the pure bhakti which gopis had. Because there is no I, everything is Krishna alone. They were not even aware that Krishna, when they went to, we'll see the incident, when they went to see him, he was already crowned as the king of Dwaraka, and they could not recognize him because beyond the 13-year-old Krishna, which they saw with the peacock feather in his head and the yellow dress that he normally wore in when he was in Vrindavan, they don't know any other Krishna. For them, that is the only Krishna they know. And they were shocked because they thought it's a strange person sitting on the throne. So they do not even look at him, saying, "Where is our Krishna?" They're still thinking that he's that small boy, 13-year-old boy, Krishna. So anyway, that kind of bhakti, which is known as prema bhakti, Sri Ramakrishna says is very rare. One can get mukti but not bhakti. That is the song which we discussed last time, the Bengali song, where he says, because of that bhakti of Yashoda, Sri Krishna left his real parents to live with foster parents. Because what attracted him to Gokul was not anything else but the pure devotion of Yashoda. We'll see Yashoda's incident also, where Uddhava and others try to convince her that her child is the supreme Brahman or he's an avatar and so many things, but she doesn't seem to be bothered about it. Just like the gopis, Yashoda also believed that he is my child and that is more than enough for me. I don't want to know what his nature is. So this prema bhakti, no doubt it is very difficult to attain. So Sri Ramakrishna is telling the narrator or the singer who was singing this song that bhakti of gopis is prema bhakti. That is the highest form of bhakti. Then it is avyabhicharini. This is a word. There are two words which are used to describe bhakti. One is avyabhicharini and other is vyabhicharini. Vyabhicharini means mixed. Avyabhicharini means unmixed. It is pure devotion. There's no reason or absolutely no selfish desire in that. Whereas the other bhakti is mixed. They no doubt love the God. They love the Ishta or the personal God whom they worship. But it is mixed with a little bit of jnana. So if it is pure bhakti, they don't even bother to know what is the real nature of that Lord is. They are just attracted to him as a mother would be attracted to the child in the case of Yashoda, or a friend would be attracted in the case of Arjuna. So there are many human relations they use and direct it towards the Lord, and they are beyond that, they have no other agenda, whether he helps them or whether he leaves them. You see, the gopis thought the Krishna was their a dear person whom they loved with all their heart, though they were 3 or 4 times his age. He was just 13, some of them were in the mid 30s, 40s, some were even 50s. They had children, some of them even had grandchildren. But they all, gopis, had one thing in common, that they loved the Krishna whom they saw with the normally with the yellow dress, which we'll see now, and the peacock feather, the one who wore peacock feather and came with a flute and enchanted them. So that Krishna they don't find when they go to Dwaraka. They find the king Krishna with a crown on his head, and they refuse to. They did not even recognize him. They said, "We have not come for this Krishna. He is not Krishna. Obviously, is he really Krishna?" So we'll see that incident. That is Vyabhicharini. That is bhakti mixed with, that is not avyabhicharini, which is not mixed with any jnana. So in it, one belong in avyabhicharini bhakti, which is prema bhakti, which gopis had and maybe Yashoda also had. In it, one believes that Krishna has become, the bhakti with jnana. In that, which is a normal bhakti, vyabhicharini, bhakti is mixed with jnana. In it, in that kind of bhakti, we believe, the devotee thinks that the Krishna has become all. He is the supreme Brahman. He is also Rama. He is Shiva. He is Shakti. So that kind of knowledge one has. It's Gyan Mishrita Bhakti. But he says Prema Bhakti is not mixed with Jnana. So it is still higher than that, because here it's a liberal type of attitude. But Avyabhicharini Bhakti is single-minded Bhakti. The example Sri Ramakrishna gives here is that of Hanuman. So it is said, Hanuman, since he was given the blessing, he received the blessing that he will be immortal. He is one of the immortals who uh, continues to live in every age. So Hanuman and some others have received that blessing that they will be immortal and they will appear now and then to uh, whomsoever is devoted to them, or if they wish. So it is said in the story that Hanuman came to Dwaraka. Of course, that is another yuga, but since he was immortal, he can appear. And Sri Krishna tells, uh, and he thinks he wants to see Sita and Rama, because beyond Sita and Rama, he had no other devotion to anyone. So he had that kind of bhakti which the gopis had for Krishna. But that was in a different age. So but Sri Krishna said to Rukmini, his wife, she was the queen in Dwaraka. So he says, Krishna tells her, quickly assume the form of Sita. Otherwise, there will be no escape from Hanuman. He has come to see his Rama and he will recognize me as Rama, but you have to disguise yourself or assume the form of Sita. Then only he will accept you. Otherwise, there will be no escape. He has come to see Sita and Rama. You see, that is, his devotion has brought him. Similarly, gives another example. Vibhishana, it is said, though he was the brother of Ravana, Vibhishana was a very great devotee of Narayana or Vishnu. So he would not bow down his head before anyone other than Vishnu. And obviously, he used to bow down before Rama and not before anyone else in the world. That is a vow he had taken. So, when the Pandavas were performing the Rajasuya Yajna, in fact, Sri Krishna assumes the role of a doorkeeper in that. He receives all the guests. Rajasuya Yajna is after they won the battle, they had to perform this yajna which will establish Yudhishthira as the emperor. as the king. So, in that, a lot of gifts have to be given to all the deserving people, and a big ceremony is organized. And Sri Krishna was so humble that everybody took some role or the other in this function, and Sri Krishna said, "I'll take the role of a doorkeeper." So everybody had to come with his permission, and he would guide them. And Vibhishana also comes to that Rajasuya Yagna, and he said, uh, Krishna says, as was the system at that time, everybody had to pay his respects to the emperor. Everybody did it. But he said, I shall only pay obeisance to Narayana and to none else in the world. Then Sri Krishna was in a predicament because that is breaking the rule. The king has to be honored. So Krishna himself lay prostrate before Yudhishthira to pay his obeisance. Seeing Narayana himself bowing down, Vibhishana also did the same with the crown on his head. So you will find that the Lord, because he becomes uh, almost for the devotee so difficult, he says, this song which we discussed in the previous class, to get this kind of bhakti, because the Lord normally doesn't give bhakti. He gives Vyabhicharani bhakti, which is mixed with a little bit of jnana. So, which is not the highest. That is what Sri Ramakrishna is trying to explain. Then Sri Ramakrishna gives another example. First, he gives these two examples of Vibhishana and Hanuman. Then he says, example from day to day life. He says, do you know what it is like? Another third example, which is more practical. He says, it is like a bride in the family. She serves her husband. In those days, there used to be this joint family system. So everybody, brothers and two, three brothers, their wives, and the whole family would live in the same house. So she serves her husband's younger and elder brothers, his father, and also her own husband. She gives them water to wash their feet and a towel. That is what was the custom in those days. The women of the house, they did all these duties for everyone without any bias. But Sri Ramakrishna says she provides a low wooden seat for them all, but she has quite another type of relationship with her husband, which she doesn't share with the other people. She may serve everyone. So that is why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that Hanuman may have respect for Krishna or any other incarnation. There is a famous verse in Tulsi Ramayana, which begins with this prayer. Srinathe Janaki Nathe Abheda Paramatmani Tathapi Mama Sarvasva Rama Kamalalochana. So as a Jnani, Hanuman says, Srinathe Janaki Nathe. Srinathe means Sri Krishna. Janaki Nath is Rama. Abhay, they are not different in the Lord. I mean, as the Parameshwara, Paramatmani, as Paramatmas, they are same. They are different incarnations of the same Ishvara. But Tathapi, but still, Mama Sarvasva, my all in all is Rama Kamala Lochana. Rama alone is my all in all. He may be same as Krishna as far as uh, their connection with the Paramatman is concerned, but I know that as a Jnani I may accept that also, but for me, I don't want anyone other than Rama to whom he was devoted. So that is what this type of bhakti, Sri Ramakrishna gives a simple example where he says the relationship with everybody else is not, though she respects everyone, it is special with her husband. Now, he is further explaining. You will not get these explanations in Narad Bhakti Sutras. There are many Chandilya's Bhakti Sutras. There are so many Bhakti Shastras. We will get description of Bhakti, what Bhakti is and all those things. But certain terms, Sri Ramakrishna explains in a very unique way. He says, Prema Bhakti is comprised of the two feelings, I and mine, Aham and Mama. Yashoda thinks, I mean, Normally, we would think that I and mine are harmful. Especially mine is more harmful than I. That is why Sri Ramakrishna once said, if the I is there, let it be a bhakta's I. I am God's child. That ahankar is okay. That kind of ego is fine. So, mama also, my Lord. So, if you direct it to God, the same ahankar and the mamakara, that is aham and mama, becomes results in supreme prema bhakti. He says it is comprised of two feelings, I and mine. Yashoda thinks she's so much attached to her Ishta, she doesn't even consider him to be the Ishta. For her, Gopal is the child, her child. Beyond that, she doesn't want to. He showed her many visions, but she was not even bothered about it. Her only concern, like the gopis, that he should be happy wherever he is. We don't. Uh, so that feeling of aham and mama are totally directed towards the Lord, towards the Ishta or towards the Lord, not to anything else in the world. Either the gopis or Yashoda. He says, even when he grew up and he left Gokul, he says, she thinks, who will look after Gopal, that is Krishna, if I don't do so? He may fall ill if I don't look after him. Yashoda does not know that Krishna is Bhagwan himself. Though he tried to show, many times he showed her so many visions showing his glory, like he showed the Vishwarup Darshan to Arjuna. She also showed many occasions, you will find in his biography, that Yashoda did see all these visions. But he she doesn't did not want to know, though she knew he is Bhagwan himself. On the other hand, she feels he is mine. So that mamatva is deeply directed to none other than the Lord himself. So that is why it is not harmful. Aham and mama can be harmful if it is directed towards temporary things of the world. This is my property, this is my house, this is my money. All those things can be harmful. But the same aham and mamatva, if it is directed towards the Lord in a very impractical way, because the gopis knew, but their aham and mama was so strong that they refused to believe that Krishna has grown up. He is a king wearing a crown, and they refuse to recognize him because they know only one Krishna who played with them, and they were concerned, or they loved him so much that they were concerned about his welfare wherever he was, and they did not even bother to think that he has grown up or they just have that feeling of me and mine. So he is mine, and Krishna is mine, and Gopal is my own. She knew Krishna is mine and Gopal is my own. Uddhava said, Uddhava went, in fact, Uddhava was asked to meet all these great devotees by Krishna himself. He said, go and just see. Don't think your devotion is the highest. You will understand there are greater devotees than you. So Uddhava goes and tries to explain, because he was a Gyani also. He was a devotee of Krishna, but also he was having this Vyabhicharini bhakti, that is Jnana mixed with bhakti. Bhakti was there, but Jnana was also there. So he's trying to explain to Yashoda, whose devotion was obviously much more than him, but he's trying to remove her ignorance by saying, your Krishna is Bhagwan himself. He is the Lord of the universe. He is no ordinary being. Yashoda immediately replied, I am not asking you about your Lord. He may be your Lord, he may be the Lord of the universe for you. I am just asking you about my Gopal and not the Lord. So, what single minded devotion the gopis had? Now, this is as far as Yashoda is concerned, but for gopis, Sri Ramakrishna says, only after many, many entreaties to enter the royal court did the doorkeeper take them to Krishna. They went to visit him. Obviously, they were simple, humble village women without appointment. They have gone there. Obviously, they would not be allowed in without, and they would simply say, our Gopal is there or our Krishna is there inside. and they did not even perhaps pay respect, because for them Krishna was just that young child, 13-year-old boy. It was not the king. So without respect, how can you go and ask the doorkeeper? So they were not allowed, but lot of requests, and they told the whole background that Krishna played with us. Then finally they allowed. But when they saw a person sitting on a throne with a turban, the crown, they stood with bowed heads. They were shocked, because they came to see their Krishna. But who is this? He says, who is this person with a turban? They asked amongst themselves and said, shall we lose our chastity by talking to this man? They had no other devotion or attraction to anyone, any other human being other than Krishna. So, how can we talk to a strange man? They thought he was a strange man with all this. He said, where is the beloved of our souls who wears yellow robes and a crest of peacock feathers? So, there are many songs composed in Bengali, especially the Vaishnavas, where very beautifully the devotion of Radha is explained through so many incidents. Some of them may be myths, or some they may not be historical, but that doesn't take away. In fact, Swami Vivekananda once thought that it was all these stories were made up, because he was born and brought up. He was brought up in a having had Western education, so he was all about logic, trying to rationally understand. He said, how is it possible? So many stories are attributed to Krishna and this Radha, and these things are not humanly possible. So that is what he used to doubt. And once he expressed his doubt about the very historicity and of the life of Sri Krishna and his devotees. He said, many of these things, do you think they are real? They might have been made up. So, Sri Ramakrishna gives a beautiful answer. Say, for example, they are made up. They are made up, or they are just myths. But still, whoever wrote those myths, if he had not attained that state of mind, how would he even think of writing? A novelist, whatever is in his mind, he cannot, or whatever he sees, whatever he understands around him. If he is always seeing crime, he will be a criminal. He will write about crime, fiction, and other things, because that is the world in which he lives. So you cannot expect any great literature from such a person. A poet like Wordsworth, who's living, always living with nature, he understands many things about nature, so that will find expression in his poetry. So also, if a person has absolutely no background of bhakti, prema bhakti, and all those things, even if it is an imaginary story or a myth which some author it has come to, he says, think of that person who has written this. Take it for granted it is not historical, but these stories have appeared in the mind of some purified rishi or somebody who has written the Bhagavata, who has written the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, and all those. They are not ordinary people. If they had not experienced any of these spiritual truths, how can they write? They would have just written Mahabharata like any other fiction. How could Gita find a place there? How could, mixed with so many ordinary stories, you will find some gems in the Bhagavata, like Uddhav Gita. There are so many Gitas in the Bhagavata also. And in the Mahabharata, in the Mahabharata, so many Gitas. Bhagavad Gita is one of the chapters, 18 chapters in the middle of Mahabharata, but there are other Gitas like Uddhava Gita, Anu Gita. There are so many pearls of wisdom in the Mahabharata. It says, whoever has written this, though there are many ordinary stories, many stories of fighting and evil qualities and Duryodhana and all those things, but along with that, there is also the story of Radha, there is also the story of gopis. So a person who could experience, if he had seen only warfare and only fights, he would have been writing something which is like our present day crime fiction, because they have seen a world where these things are very normal. So a novelist, obviously you can't expect him to write highest spiritual truths unless he himself experiences. A poet like Wordsworth and others who live with nature, they will express whatever they feel, whatever they experience when they encounter nature, and that gives rise to wonderful poetry. But a person who's much higher than that, who has experienced what this Vyabhicharini and Vyabhicharini Bhakti is trying to explain. That is why when Sri Ramakrishna gives example, it attracts us because he is not saying by reading some books. He sees our day-to-day life, he sees how human beings behave, and he gives example trying to explain these very difficult words like prema bhakti, vyabhicharani bhakti. Otherwise, you'll have to go to the scriptures, try to find out what it is. Most probably will misunderstand if you don't know Sanskrit properly, and then there'll be more confusion. Whereas here, you will find he just gives simple, plain explanations, and they just flow from his mouth. You see, here he doesn't even think. He doesn't talk like a scholar. He just gives example. He makes fun. He makes jokes. He sings. He goes into ecstasy. He goes into a high state of mind. So he says, see what single-minded devotion they had for him. Him means Krishna, the gopis. This unique kind of mood persists in Vrindavan. People around Dwaraka, he is comparing the devotees of Dwaraka who have seen Krishna as a king and the people who live in Vrindavan who can understand. That is why in Vrindavan they will have to say, even before they say Krishna, they say Radha. Radhe, Radhe, they will say. But the same thing is not, Radha is not popular. Sri Ramakrishna says, Dwarka, people around Dwarka unfortunately worship only Krishna, Arjuna's friend. They know him only as Arjuna's friend. They have little regard for Radha. But people in Vrindavan, they have, they always take into consideration the wonderful devotion the gopis, especially Radha, had for Krishna. So he is now trying to explain the new topic which M is discussing, subheading, is firm faith of the gopis. Jnana Bhakti and Prema Bhakti, which is better? A devotee is asking now this question because he has heard that Prema Bhakti is far superior than the Jnana Mishrita Bhakti. So perhaps he was a Jnani. He says, which is better, Bhakti mixed with Jnana or Prema Bhakti? Then Sri Ramakrishna gives a wonderful answer. Unless one has intense love for the Lord, one cannot attain Prema Bhakti. Though we may say, but it is always mixed with some doubt, some knowledge, some ignorance, mixed with our devotion. He says, one cannot attain Prema Bhakti and does not consider, unless one has intense love for the Lord, one cannot attain Prema Bhakti and does not consider him as one's very own. That aham and mamatva, if it is not directed, if we direct partially to the Lord. I want the Lord, I want him when there is some problem, but I want my aham and mamatva is shared with other things also. My property, my money, my house, my welfare, my body, everything. Whereas here, they don't have any aham. For them, the only ego they have is that of Krishna. So he says, unless you consider Krishna to be one's very own, beyond which they don't have any aham or mamatva towards any other object in the world, one cannot get prema bhakti. And here he gives a beautiful example. He says, three friends were going through a forest when they see a tiger. Suddenly a tiger appears, and one of them, you see how nice example. I don't think he has borrowed this idea from anywhere. I mean, any scripture. He's just spontaneously giving these wonderful examples so that we can understand the difference between different types of bhakti. One of them, the three people were going, three friends were going. Suddenly they come across a tiger. So all the three friends, or these three friends, have different solutions. Now how to face this tiger? What to do now? All are confused. The first one says, "Oh brother, we are done for." Means we are gone. There's no other way now. That whatever has to be done, the tiger will do. We have nothing to do. The second friend said, "Why should we die? Why should we die? Let us call on the Lord." And the third one said, no, why trouble him? Let us climb this tree. Why should we bother the Lord? Now he's explaining these three reactions represent three different stages of bhakti. The person who said, we are done for, did not know or did not even accept that the Lord is our Savior. He can save us. So he is like an atheist. He who said, he just takes everything as fate and leaves everything to destiny. Second is slightly better because he said, let us call on the Lord. He was a Gyani. He knows that the creator and the destroyer, he knew that the Lord creates, he preserves, and he destroys. So, if we want to avoid destruction, we have to go to him because he can create, he can preserve what he has created. He can do that, he can save our lives. And that is, Gyani's knowledge is far better than one who says we are done for, there's nothing we can do now. He doesn't even accept the Lord as a savior. But the slightly higher devotee says he, but the third one who said, why should we trouble him? Come, let's climb a tree. Had prema or intense love in his heart, he had deep love for God. Such a love has this characteristic. The one who has it considers himself more powerful than the beloved. He doesn't want his beloved to be troubled. He wants to save his beloved even from the prick of a thorn. So, this is the highest kind of bhakti. You see, I have given this example before. There are a lot of people who chant a lot of stotras, especially in North India. You will find Hanuman Chalisa is a very popular. Thousands and thousands of people. You ask them why they chant Hanuman Chalisa, why they chant Durga Saptashati, Chandi, some verses. So if you do Parayana, Durga will save you and Hanuman will save you. When you do Hanuman Chalisa, I will come and protect you. So the feeling is that because he is a savior, by reciting this, he can protect me from many things. So I told you there was an incident where I myself heard this from a monk who whose one devotee comes and tells him that his area is full of uh, robbers and dacoits, and it's very risky to even if the house is locked, to keep that locked for a long time. He says, I can't stay away for a long time. So I need to be there always, unless there is some light inside or somebody uses it, they will easily come and break the lock. Then why don't you go? I have no, Swamiji, I have a habit of chanting Hanuman Chalisa every day. So he will take care of my house. Nothing will happen to me. You see how much faith I have. So that Swami got terribly angry. He said, what foolish idea you have? You are giving the responsibility of a watchman to this Hanuman, who is a great devotee of Rama, who did not care for anything, even the jewels. Why will he protect your house? He is not somebody who is, you are disrespecting him by expecting him to serve. You can employ a watchman, you can put some good locks, or take the risk and let it. If somebody comes, then you can tell the police. What else can you do? But if you have really understood and have devotion for Hanuman, which you say you have, you will obviously not read Hanuman Chalisa and expect Hanuman to drive away the robber when he or somebody comes to rob your house. That's something which is so demeaning. You cannot expect the Lord to guard your house. Yes, it's a silly house for him, though he is the owner of the whole universe. Why should he bother about the same incident you see when the jewelry of the Divine Mother was stolen? And Mathur Babu was terribly angry. Angry not with the priests, of course, he was angry with them because they did not look after it. But Sri Ramakrishna heard him saying, Mathur Babu saying that, Mother, you are the mother of the universe. You are such a powerful Shakti. Could you not prevent your jewelry or ornaments from being stolen by a petty robber. You could have easily prevented it. Then Sri Ramakrishna got angry and he scolded him by saying, "This jewelry may be very valuable for you, but she who owns the whole universe, these are petty things. She will not even bother for all these things. Maybe for you it is valuable. So why do you have that kind of attitude and blame her for that? For her, the whole universe is hers. This jewelry is like dust." So here Sri Ramakrishna says, he doesn't want the highest devotee, like the robber who said, "Why should we call the Lord and waste our japa for this? We can use our own strength to climb the tree and then protect ourselves. That is not the job of somebody whom we love." So he doesn't want to trouble his beloved and also wants to save his beloved from even the prick of a thorn. Then Ram takes Thakur Ram, who was in whose house this meeting took place. He takes Thakur and the devotees upstairs and serves them all different kinds of sweets, and the devotees take prasad after he has taken. So this conversation ends there. Now the next conversation took place on 4th June 1883 in Dakshineshwar temple, the Kali temple. Sri Ramakrishna is with devotees at the Kali temple in Dakshineshwar. And that is the Falaharani Kali Puja day. So it's a very important day. There are many Kali Pujas. One of them is Falaharani Kali Puja. And Manilal Trailokyanath Sanyal used to sing wonderful songs, mainly Brahmo songs, but he used to sing other songs also. He has come, Biswas, Ram Chatterjee, Balram, Narendra, and Rakhal. They are all there. The 14th day of the dark fortnight, Amavasya, in the month of Jyeshtha. The people are fasting on this 14th day, on the day of Savitri. So it is a fast which normally married women do to pray for protection to their husband. So that is known as Savitri Vrata or something like that. So anyway, it was the 14th day, and Falani Puja will be celebrated at night on the last day of the dark fortnight. So that is on this day, the Divine Mother is worshipped as the consumer of karmas of all the devotees. So Phala Aharini means one who consumes the phala. Phala means, see, when we say karma phala, it we should not think that Mother or the Divine Mother will take only the bad karma, because you have to give everything. If she is a Phalaharini, so whatever fruits are, the good japa that you have done, that is why after every time we do our spiritual practices, we don't keep anything. We just give it so that it can neutralize whatever bad karma that we have done. And then let her decide. So on this day, they believe, it is believed that she takes the phala, the fruits of all your karma, good and bad, whatever you have done in life, this life and the previous lives. So if we worship, they say, if you worship her properly on that day and you offer with your whole heart the fruits of all your bad karma as well as whatever good you have done to counter it, everything will be taken, absorbed by Ma Kali, and you will be free. That's the idea. So the devotees are coming to see him. It is Monday, 4th June 1883. He is sitting in the shrine of the Kali temple. That is the main Garbha Mandir. He is sitting in the shrine of the Kali temple on 4th June 1883. M had visited Sri Ramakrishna last Sunday. The Katyayani Puja, Katyayani is Durga, one another name of Durga. Puja was held last night. That is the previous night. Thakur, full of emotion, stands in front of the mother, that is Bhavatarani, in the Nat Mandir. So that is outside. He has come, it's not in the Garbha Mandir. After he gave up his job as a pujari, he used to mostly do salutation to the mother from outside. For him, it was not important to just squeeze and go in. So most of the time, he would come to the Nat Mandir and pray. He would see a living mother. There's no need for him to push everybody and go inside and have darshan. Anyway, he stands full of emotion in the Nat Mandir, which is below. If you see in Dakshineshwar, the Nat Mandir is much below. From there, you can see the Divine Mother if there's no crowd, but it is not a very clear darshan. Anyway, he stands in front and says, Mother, you are the Katyayani of Braja. You are the heaven, you are the earth, you are the nether world. Hari, Brahma, and this is a song. The 12 Gopals, 10 great sciences, and 10 great avatars have all originated out of you. This time you shall have to take me across by any means. Take me across the ocean of samsara. That is a figurative way of saying that I'm swimming in the ocean of samsara, helpless. So, unless you take me across, I can't uh, cross this ocean. So, you have to take me across somehow. You are all the Gopalas, the Hari, Brahma, the 10 great sciences, which are part of the Vedic sciences. There are many Vidyas. So, all these things, you are everything, all that exists is you and you alone. And there's none other than you can take me across. That is a song. Thakur sings and at the same time talks to the mother. He's fully intoxicated with divine love. Now he goes to his room and sits down on his cot. So from the Nat Mandir, after this prayer, the devotees, the worship somebody else is doing, obviously, because the mother was worshipped until midnight. So he was not part of that puja directly. So he goes, has darshan, and then goes into ecstasy and intoxicated with divine love. He goes back and sits in his room and sits on his cot. The cot which he used to use to talk to devotees, the other cot was used for sleeping. The mother was worshipped until midnight. The following morning, a Monday, which was a Monday, Balram and other devotees have arrived. Trailokya and other proprietors of the garden have come with their families for the Falaharani Puja. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. Thakur sits on the round veranda overlooking the Ganges. This is the western veranda from where Swami Vivekananda first entered. So the semicircular, that is the round veranda overlooking the Ganga. If you have seen, it is known as the western veranda. So it was overlooking the Ganges and he had a smile on his face. Playfully, he places Rakhal's head on his lap. Because Rakhal had the nature of a child, so he just was lying down. So he goes and puts his head on his lap. For some days, Thakur has regarded Rakhal as Gopala, that is baby Krishna. So that was a divine mood, and he found that in his previous life, he was a playmate of Sri Krishna, Rakhal. He had seen it in a vision. So he always, Rakhal, the word Rakhal itself means one who looks after the cows. So he was the playmate of Sri Krishna in the previous incarnation. So for some days, you just consider him to be Gopala or baby Krishna. Trailokya is going to the temple for Mother Kali's darshan. On his way, he passes Thakur's room. Attendants holding an umbrella accompany him. Sri Ramakrishna exclaims, Rakhal, get up. Sri Ramakrishna sits up and Trailokya bows down to him. Sri Ramakrishna, brother, was there no yatra, musical performance, jatra yesterday? Trailokya says, no, it could not be arranged. Sri Ramakrishna, well, let it pass this time, but you must see to it that it is not forgotten in the future. One must continue to observe the injunctions. Trailokya agrees and leaves. Shortly after, Ram Chatterjee, the priest of the Vishnu temple, arrives. Sri Ramakrishna says, Ram, I said to Trailokya, the jatra was not performed this year. You must see to it that it is not forgotten in the future. Should I have said that? See, after saying he thinks, should I interfere in all these things? Then Ram says, sir, what is wrong with it? You are right. One must follow the traditions. Then Sri Ramakrishna is telling Balram, please eat here today. Before the meal, Thakur tells the devotees a number of things about his spiritual state. Rakal, Balram, M, Ramlal, and one or two other devotees are present. Sri Krishna, the new heading, it's the conversation is going on. Suddenly, the topic changes to Hazra. So, Sri Krishna is very angry with Hazra, seeing God in man. Now, these are two different topics, seeing God in man and Sri Krishna's anger with Hazra. Sri Krishna. Hajra used to sometimes come and give unwanted advice and instruct me, saying, "Why do you think so much about these young men?" One day, in a carriage, on the way to Balram's house, I was very worried about it. Sri Krishna's nature was like that of a child. Even if a person like Hajra says something, first he would believe it and then try to analyze why did he say that and is it true. If it was not true, he would just give it up. So, but when he was confused, he used to go to the mother and ask her. I said to the mother, "Mother, Hajra always says and asks why I think so much of Narendra and the other young men. He says, why I spend so much time worrying about them instead of meditating on God." While I was saying this, she immediately showed me that she had indeed become a human being. One can clearly see her in a very pure mind. Having seen her form when I came down a little from Samadhi, I was very angry with Hazra. I said to myself, "See, this rascal has defiled my mind." Then I said, "Well, after all, he was not to be blamed. It was his ignorance. How could he know?" So he immediately forgives him. First, he gets angry on him, but he says, "How could he know? He has not realized, he has not seen this truth." So I see the young man as the very manifestation. He's talking about the first meeting with Narendra. I see the young man as very manifestation of Narayana. You know, when I met Narendra for the first time, I noticed that he did not have any body consciousness. I just touched his chest with my hand and he lost all external consciousness. When he returned to the normal state, he exclaimed, I say, "What did you do to me? I have my father and mother." This happened in Jadu Mallik's house. Gradually, I felt more and more longing to see him. I became restless for him. Then I asked Bolanath. Bolanath was a clerk in the Kali temple. Later, he became a treasurer. So he was saying, this Bolanath, he goes and tells him. He used to tell anything and everything to anyone whom he met. He was so simple, like a child. A child doesn't distinguish between. He's so simple that he often expresses whatever he thinks to whoever comes to him. Not, he is not cunning in the sense he doesn't use. He is not mature enough to know what to speak to whom. People who think that they are very wise and they know all the etiquettes and other things and whom to speak, what to speak, and all those things. Sri Ramakrishna was not like that. He had so much faith in his mother, that in the Divine Mother, that if somebody confused him, he would. That was the last thing he would do. Mm, to leave all the judgment, and the mother would give him the right answer. So he was not worried whether Hajra tells him something or somebody else tells him. His final confirmation he would get from the mother. So he was very free with everyone. And he goes to Bholanath, who was obviously not a very spiritual person, and says, I say, "Brother, what is the matter with me?" These things obviously you can't discuss with a ordinary employee who had no devotion, is not even his teacher. He says, I say, "Brother, what is the matter with me? There is this boy who is Kayastha by caste." You should remember, in those days, Brahmins and those who thought that they were belong to a higher caste would not normally associate with the people of the lower caste. It was very orthodox, a superstitious, or maybe uh, a tradition which was prevailing in those days. So naturally, that idea that uh, people used to always say that you should not mix, you are a Brahmin of the very highest order. Why should you mix with these people? So Kayastha by caste, named Narendra, I don't know why I feel such attraction for him. Bolanath told me, Bolanath, obviously, Bolanath had read some scriptures. So he says the Mahabharata explains this. When the mind of a person who goes into samadhi comes down, he wants to live and associate only with sattvic people. He feels content only when he meets such people. When I heard this, though he might have just quoted from Mahabharata, Sri Ramakrishna immediately got convinced because his experiences tallied with that of the scriptures. Unless Narendra was sattvic, because he had no body consciousness, he was obviously very sattvic, pure by very birth. So that's why I feel like talking to him. I don't feel like talking to other people. When I heard this, I was at peace with myself. At times I sat down and wept to see Narendra. Then he says, Sri Ramakrishna says, oh, what a state I was in. He's talking of those days when he was doing his sadhana, when the disciples had not come. Oh, what a state I was in. When I had this state, I didn't know how days and nights passed by. Everybody thought that and said that I had gone mad. So they married me off, thinking that marriage would remove this madness. First, I was in the state of divine madness. First, I was worried for my wife. Then I thought, well, she can live, eat, and drink normally as I do. I went to my father in law's house, that is Jairam Bhatti, where a big kirtan was being performed. Nafar, Digambar Banerjee's father, and others attended it. There was a lot of devotional music. At times I felt worried about the future. Then I said to the mother, Mother, if the zamindar, landlord of the village, talks to me and shows me his respect, I will know that all my spiritual realizations are true. See, the effect of all the criticism and all the people telling him again and again, if somebody tells you your spiritual experiences, your spiritual path is not correct, there is a limit. Even Sri Ramakrishna showed here that the influence of such criticism. That's why he said you should never discuss your spiritual conditions and your spiritual uh, desire or what sadhana you're doing to anyone and everyone, because they will ridicule and then they will put doubt. If a person like Sri Ramakrishna uh, felt a doubt that everybody is other than who were very close to him, everybody thinks I'm mad when I go, even his mother. In fact, his mother, he was so worried that when he went, she just started crying because she listened to the people of Kamarpukur. Whoever went used to come and say, see, your son, you're not caring for your son, he's gone mad. Uh, Even after marriage, because after marriage, Sharda Devi did not go there. She was still in Jairambati. It's much later that Sri Ramakrishna arranged for her to come to Dakshineshwar. So all these rumors in Sharda Devi, of course, did not take it seriously, but her mother and Thakur's own mother, she was so much worried that she used to cry, and whenever he came, she used to try to mm, tell him that, see, I don't know what has happened to my Gadai and all those things. So seeing this, Sri Ramakrishna was upset, not because he was not convinced of his own spiritual goal or spiritual path. He was worried that my mother, whom I love so much, if she is anxious, I'll be always thinking of her anxiety, and I'll be worried and anxious about her. So he goes to the temple and prays to mother. Mother, please see that she is she stops worrying about me. She stops being anxious about me. So next time his prayers were answered, because when next time when he went, there was a complete change in Chandramani Devi's, his mother's behavior. She never even spoke once. She treated him as if he's a very loving son and such a, with so much of love and respect. And so he wanted to confirm, like a child, he prayed to the mother and says, Zamindars would never come to such a poor family. They were so poor, the parents of Sri Ramakrishna, especially after Khudiram's passing away, that why will a landlord come and talk to It was beyond the dignity in those days. Landlords would not speak with the commoners. So that's why he challenged the Divine Mother, saying, if the landlord comes and shows me his respect, then I will know that all my spiritual realizations are true. And he did come on his own to talk to me nicely. So that convinced him. And then he saw there was a total change in his mother. So, with all the anxiety removed, he could focus on his spiritual practices. So then he said, what a state, all these things, he is talking about uh, uh, some visions, very strange visions. It's impossible to understand the significance of these visions. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna used to tell something about dreams also, that he said, if you dream about very poisonous snakes, it's a sign of spiritual progress. Now, how will you interpret that? People will not understand this, uh, how Sri Ramakrishna saw or interpreted dreams from a very high plane. So, all these visions also we have to accept, because he said that he saw that and he would get different kinds of inspiration. So, what a state I passed through, a very ordinary thing would at once fill me with great inspiration. So, for him, everywhere there was this divine inspiration. I worshipped Sundari, that is a beautiful girl. She was a 14-year-old girl. I saw her as the manifestation of Mother herself. I offered her a rupee and bowed down to her. Then I went to see Ram Leela. I saw the real Sita, Rama, Lakshmana, and Vibhishana before me. So I suddenly went and worshipped all the actors who were playing these parts. I invited Kumaris and worshipped them. I saw them as the mother herself. One day, I saw a girl in blue robe standing under a bakul tree. Though she was a prostitute, my seeing her, my mind at once became filled with the idea of Sita. Instead of the girl, I literally saw Sita herself coming to Rama after being freed from Lanka. For a long time, I was unconscious in the state of samadhi. Then he says, another day I went for a walk in the Fort Maidan. A big crowd had gathered to watch a balloon being released. It's a new scientific discovery, and people were uh, flocking there to see. A big crowd had gathered to watch a balloon being released. My eyes fell on a European boy leaning against a tree with his body bent in three places. I mean, he was just relaxing, uh, leaning against a tree. My mind was at once filled with the consciousness of Sri Krishna, and I passed into samadhi. There's an adjective which describes Sri Krishna. Whenever he played the flute, he would lean against a tree, and that is why he's known as Bake Bihari. Bake means one who is bent in three places. So when he just saw that, he could associate that with Sri Krishna, and instead of seeing that European boy, he just thought it was Sri Krishna himself. So these are the wonderful visions he saw. And there's a beautiful book compiled by Swami Yogeshananda, who passed away at the age of nearly 100 in our center in Atlanta. He was the founder of that center. He compiled a beautiful book, maybe for himself, but then later on it was published as The Visions of Sri Ramakrishna. So he has collected all the visions from gospel, from the great master. And if you read that book, you will find such wonderful visions all in one place. Most of the visions which he had, it is very difficult to interpret them. But he, all he has done is classified them, different visions at different times, and left the reader to, or maybe he has given references so that one can find out where this vision occurred and what did Sri Ramakrishna say. In some cases, he would say what that vision meant. Otherwise, he will simply say, I saw this and I went into samadhi. So all these things, they are recollections which will form part of the biography of Sri Ramakrishna. Had he not told this, and had if this was not recorded, these are not the only things. These are from the gospel which M himself heard. There are other visions which he has described to other people, which you will find in the Great Master, which we discuss every alternate Sunday. So in Shihor, that is his Hriday's birthplace, I served snacks and drinks to cowherd boys as though they were real cowherds or rakhals of Braja. Then I ate them too. He used to seeing them, used to think of all these people as someone who enacted the divine drama, the divine Leela, Divya Leela in a previous incarnation. So he could reconnect, and even the present day, time and space, they say, loses all its significance to one who goes into that high state of samadhi. He says, I often lost consciousness, so Mathur Babu kept me with him in his Jan Bazar house for a number of days. And Mathur Babu was very, he understood, or even if he did not understand, he knew in that state it is very important to take care of this person because he will see some strange vision. He may fall down or he may have some accident. So he kept him in his house in Jan Bazar. I felt, though, I felt as though I had truly become a maid of the mother of the universe. The women of the household were as comfortable and free with me, which normally doesn't happen in the traditional houses. Men would not enter the inner chambers or people where women normally worked and lived. But they were as comfortable and free with me as with a small boy or girl. With the maid servant, I used to escort uh, Mathur's daughter also. Many things, he says, in that state of mind, people just lost the feeling that he was a, uh, they could not, they felt so easy to approach him in that state. The women who normally would keep a safe distance from men. Even now, my mind is transported at the thought of the slightest thing. Before, I could not keep myself still when I saw Rakhal mumble while performing japa. I would immediately be transported by the thought of the Lord. So there he would say that when I saw Rakhal was in such a high state, he used to always repeat the japa silently and the lips would move. Normally it is discouraged, but his lips would move and that would uh, inspire Sri Ramakrishna. See such a young age, he's always saying japa, and he would immediately be transported to a very high state. Then, so many things he used to imitate, and then we come to the incident where Sri Ramakrishna, the Manilal means here it is actually M. He doesn't want to disclose his identity. So he says, the next chapter, though the conversation is going on, we'll discuss it in the next class. There he's shown as an ocean of motiveless grace. How through his actions, how through his kindness, how through his compassion, Sri Ramakrishna uh, showered his grace, not just by sweet words, but also by demonstrating these highest states in front of people it was something which you had to see to believe. As William Hastie, who first introduced Swami Vivekananda Narendra, a college boy, to Ramakrishna, he said, I don't know what that state of trance is, but if you want to know what trance is, there's only one person who has that state, and that is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa of Dakshineshwar. That is how Narendranath is motivated for the first time because of Professor William Hastie, who was taking a class in the Scottish Church College where Naren studied. So he became curious. He said, we hear the word trance in Wordsworth's poem Excursion, but what was the state which Wordsworth might have had? He might not have had the same samadhi or the same state, spiritual state. But at least Professor William Hastie thought that he has obviously met him. He said, you go and see. Then you will understand. There's no other person I can point out who has this state, but the Paramahamsa of Dakshineshwar has. So this wonderful states, Sri Ramakrishna The incidents are continuing, and M has so nicely recorded. He doesn't want to reveal his identity. That is why he says Manilal. But Manilal, M, Master are a devotee. Sometimes he would even refer to himself as a devotee. But most of the times he was present, obviously. So he's talking of Nitya Gopal and others, the high spiritual state they had as a result of their contact with Sri Ramakrishna. So we'll conclude now. Are there any questions? If somebody types, you can ask. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. So we'll conclude. So to next Sunday there will be Saturday and Sunday there will be class, but after that on Saturday there will be no class because I'll be going to Leicester. There is a program. They have hired a hall and there is a short, small retreat, half-day retreat on the weekend after the next weekend. And after that, there'll be no class till March 20 because I'll be, sorry, May 20, because on April 9th, that is the weekend after that, I'll be in Brazil and Argentina and USA. So there'll be no classes during that period from April 9th to May 20. And even on the weekend next to the next weekend, we will not have classes. Saturday, obviously, I'm going. Sunday, I'm here, but there won't be any classes because we have not announced. Only classes for March we had announced. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ram.